Hello, everybody. This is your girl, Donna D, aka the Urban Mommy, and I am back with another podcast. Today, I have a really nice topic, and I chose it from my wonderful guest. I didn't really create it, but I just chose it. And it's going to be called From Crappy to Happy. I love that. Welcome.
Ooh, thanks a bunch, Donna, for having me on your show. It's right indeed, Urban Mommy Swag.
Hey. All right, cool. So, I love you. Everything about you so far. You seem really cool. Okay, so can you tell me who is Dom?
Sure thing, Dom is a lot of things, but definitely one of them is an encourager, I have to say. Encourager, motivator, inspirational speaker, motivational teacher who likes to encourage and empower and equip others to share their stories, whether that's writing their book, starting their podcast, or even doing both and becoming a bookcaster.
Okay. What's a bookcaster?
It's where you combine the elements of someone who wrote a book and also started a podcast. She picked the two words together, bookcaster.
Oh, I guess that's what I am.
That's right indeed.
Okay. All right. So I see you say you advance others to advance yourself. I love it. Let's talk about it.
Sure thing. So that wonderful mantra of mine came from a lot of reading and living and putting stuff into action. One of my favorite motivational speakers of all time is the late great Zig Ziglar. And he had a great quote where he would always say that if you want to have everything in life you want, if you help enough other people get what they want.
Mm,
And when I thought about that, I'm like, wow, it's kind of like with selling and really motivational teaching and speaking, like really equipping others with what they need to succeed, like being that positive role model, being a charitable person when it comes to giving out to charity, giving out to their community with their time, talent, or treasure. Because it doesn't always have to be treasure, aka money. It could be your time, because truth be told, time is something we never get back. As opposed to money, you can always make that back. Even if it's a big loss, you can still make it back. You can
right.
even make double it back. But time, you don't get that back. It's like once you get in a certain age range, you just can't hit the button on the time machine and go back to like 15 or 21 or 25. And that talent, everyone has at least one talent they can share. For me, it's my voice. For the person listening right now, they could probably make the best cupcakes ever. Like, it could be something small, it could be something big, but just really contributing what you know, what you can do, and then making sure you put it out into the world. Enough to where eventually, sometimes you'll get blessed in ways that you wouldn't even imagine, ways you wouldn't even be really haven't even planned, all because you decided to put yourself out there, share your gift with the world, and just help other people succeed.
Okay. All right. So you were actually listed as one of the top 10 self help podcasters in the world. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, indeed. That is right.
All right. So how do you remain so positive?
A lot. Definitely a lot of ways. It's actually something that I quoted in my first book. It's a wonderful framework work called RAVE, RAVE, where the R is for reading, great material. The A stands for audio immersion. The V is for visual stimulation. And the E is for encouraging yourself and others. Because if someone's living and breathing, they need encouragement. It's really all about the brain care. It's all about your mind care, like making sure you take care of your influence machine known as your mind, because what we see, what we hear is eventually what we do, speak, and become. That's another reason why it's so important to be around the right people to really influence you in a positive way. And for vice versa, like you still have to be a positive influence too, because at the end of the day, we may, especially like, hey, the podcast Urban Mommy, like, hey, some folks, like, mothers are the first teachers for children. And just being that role model for that child or for the children, for the whole family, like, that's really what it's really all about, just being that positive influence, making sure you receive good information that'll help you to continue to be a good influence, and just keeping that garden of your mind, of your environment, nice and filled with what you truly need to succeed.
Okay. So were you always like this?
Nope, far from it. I was actually a shy kid growing up. Didn't have much confidence back then, and funny enough, I really didn't hit my stride till like my real last year as a senior in high school, where I actually could do public speaking because in the church boy, I was a church boy growing up, and that's where my voice was discovered and was able to nurture that gift and finally had the chance to really show it off in school to where I actually was able to compete and got to the state level in competition and was able to be a finalist. And just that confidence booster of being able to get into a competition, actually go as far as I did, was definitely a blessing in disguise because usually I just stayed in the books and kept to myself in a certain inner circle of friends. But being able to have that opportunity to really show what you do is definitely what helps you to build your confidence. So yeah, I wasn't always like this. It just came from discovering something that I'm good at, making sure I nurture that gift, being in the right places to display that gift, and then always work on improving it too. Because the thing is, hard work will always beat talent. But if you combine talent and hard work, that's going to be a hard combination to beat because the thing is, growing up, my father was a great influence on me in terms of hard work. He was in his early 80s still helping lift heavy boxes for my church during the week when we would have food come in from the food bank so that way we can continue running our soup kitchen every Thursday mornings for the folks in the community. And heck, even extra food come Thanksgiving time for Thanksgiving baskets and even some Christmas baskets. And
Mhm.
one day we were just having a conversation because I could hear him still writhing in pain. That's the thing with aging, is that sometimes the body doesn't want to listen to the mind. It just wants to be on its own. And I'm like, Dad, why you doing all this still? It's like, like, don't you get sick of doing all this and coming home in pain and whatnot? And he's like, God's been good, too good to me for me not to be good with others and actually use my life to help other people. And just that moment still sticks with me to this day. Like a guy in his early 80s still really helping out and using his time on earth to really be a blessing to others. And that's really what it's all about, just taking the talent you have, taking a good work ethic, combining the two, and then always continuously improving, no matter how far you advance in age or how far you advance with your skills.
Okay. Where are you from?
From Baltimore, Maryland, the land of charm, crime, and crab cakes.
That is so funny. So you were shy growing up?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's right indeed. Believe it or
That's
not.
funny. That's funny. Wait, hold on. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, had to walk away. So I guess I watch a lot of TV, so I see Baltimore, and I see it looks like it can get a little rowdy sometimes. It can get a little
Yeah.
rowdy sometimes. So it's just your personality is. I would never guess Baltimore. I always try to guess where people are from, and I would never guess Baltimore for you.
What was your original guess?
Um, I would say South Carolina.
Nah, I got family down there, but nah, that's why it's charm first before the crab cakes.
I like that. Okay. All right. So you wrote a couple of books. Do you want to talk about the books you wrote?
Sure thing. Got three, well, actually four books out there. The first one is called Going North. That one was written on a dare. Then the follow up book, Stay the Course. The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. That was written after the first book as a sequel and a more polished version of a product. And
Hmm.
that could be some inspiration for folks out there. Like, no matter what you do, like, it's best to focus on getting to the goal of done, finished, as opposed to perfect. Because at the end of the day, especially in the world of book writing, you may think you found all the typos in the world, you said it the best you could at the time, And then there's always going to be that one typo just in the cut somewhere that's going to show up after you sold a few copies of your book and you got the final copy
Yes, that
and you
happened to me.
proofread
I
it.
was so mad. Oh, I was so mad. I was like, seriously? How did you get through?
It's like
That
they coming.
sucks. Yes. Just thinking about it. So, about how long does it take you to write those books?
It varies actually. The first book itself is still number one in terms of timing, in
Hmm.
terms of the finish line from start to finish, because that dare I was there to write that book within a year's time. And at first I was like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna write no book because I was 22 at the time. I'm like, what the heck am I writing about? I'm freaking 22,
Wow.
and there were some stories I could have added. I was really about a good, I'd say, 2 years into my personal development of
Hmm.
really focusing on being more positive, being having a growth mindset, and actually getting some results from the actions I took. And that's the thing, where we're in this age of authenticity,
Mm.
where folks really want the authentic you. Heck, even funny enough, been listening to Young Jeezy's biography, his memoir, and that was one of the major things that he wanted to make sure that he was doing. He even mentioned in his book how it was a couple of, I'd say about a year or so in before he released his Trap or Die mixtape that was so popular back in the early 2000s, where T.I. pulled him aside to the bathroom and made sure nobody was in the bathroom could eavesdrop, and he's like, hey, yo, geez, you gotta stop the trapping and the music together, man. You gotta do one or the other. And he was like, wait, like, ain't you doing it too? He's like, nah, man. Like, when you do the music, you got to do that one thing. Like, when it comes to being the person that you are, putting your realness out there, you have to really focus on giving them what you truly believe, what you truly do, and what you truly live. Because at the end of the day, you may be able to fool some of the people some of the time, but you're not going to be able to fool everybody. And especially if you live a lie yourself, folks are going to be always looking for ways to really find you out, and you will be found out in this attention age. So, first book took about a good 11 months, got that done,
Hmm.
but the second book, that took about a good 2 years because sadly my father passed away after a long battle with Alzheimer's. So,
Oh.
having to deal with that. And the second book was, or should I say the third book, that was a chapter contribution. That didn't take too long. They announced the book, I think that was October 2019, so
Hmm.
it didn't take that long. I just basically polished up one of the chapters from my first book and contributed that to the actual multi-author anthology series. So it really depends. Like, some folks say your first book is the hardest one and the other ones will follow after is be easier, but truth be told, it really depends on the person. Me, it's been in reverse because at the first time I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And that was to my advantage. Now it's like, all right, these are some things I would like to polish up, and the perfectionism's kicking in, and it's like, oh, let me just try to get rid of that desire for perfection because it's just not going to happen. So at the end of the day, it varies from person to person, no matter how long it takes you to get your work done. Like, get your work done as quickly as you possibly can and put it out there, and then focus on improving later because it's different for everyone.
Right, that's true. So, when you created your podcast, the Going North podcast, what inspiration did you use well, what was your inspiration to create the podcast?
Yeah, the inspiration behind the show was really after publishing my book, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself, where I realized, oh, a podcast is something I always wanted to do. And it was something I wanted to do years before even wanting to write a book. So the book, in a way, was a side quest. And I'm like, oh, wait, let me go back to the main quest of starting the show. It's like, all right, cool. That was a nice little trip. Let me get back to the main quest of starting the show. And I'm like, okay, what the heck am I going to do? Do I just run my mouth on a microphone every week? I'm like, nah, let me make it about introducing readers, or should I say future readers, to authors that they normally wouldn't hear from, especially
Mm.
those who are first time authors. Because the thing is, I read a wonderful book called Anything You Want by Derek Sivers, and was the founder of the website called CD Baby, and that site was all about giving independent musicians a site to sell their music, cutting out the middleman of really having to deal with record labels and things like that, like just giving a place for musicians to sell their music without having to deal with all the rigmarole. And just that idea alone for him creating that company CD Baby and making it as successful as it was gave me the idea. It's like, oh, let me start a podcast called the Mr. Music and Read Show, where it's all about independent musicians and authors getting some shine. But a coaching buddy of mine brought up the fact that, hey, you got this book called Going North that's basically your brand. You don't want to just leave that there lying around. And with me being a creative person, and I'm sure there's creative people listening, where it's like sometimes you have so many ideas that you throw out there, you forget some. My coaching buddy brought me back to the fact that, hey, sometimes you gotta put some wings on certain ideas because you not have not gotten all the mileage you can out of them. And that's what led me to go ahead and call the podcast the Going North Podcast and interview authors all over the world. And that wasn't even the goal. I was just going to start it and see how far I was going to go with it. And almost 6 years later, 700 episodes later, it's still going. And now I'm on a mission to interview over 1,000 authors across the globe.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have a book too, so you could add me to your interview.
Ooh, called a done deal.
So, as you said, you've interviewed over 700 authors. So, what was your favorite episode, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, Lord. That's like asking who your favorite
One
kid
of your
is.
favorites.
That's right. It's like asking a farm wife, hey, you got 20 kids, which one's your favorite?
Right?
While they're all in the
Well,
room. Let me stop.
one of your favorites.
Oh, man. I think I'm going to go with a recent episode because I rarely mention some of the recent episodes. I always go into like the 200s or whatever. But
Mhm.
definitely episode, I believe, 708, I believe. Actually, it might even be 707. I'm not sure which one, but it's the episode with a former FBI master spy recruiter, Robin Dreek. Because, funny enough, his first book, I believe it was, I forgot the exact title.
Mhm.
I believe it was called It's Not About You, It's About Me, or vice versa. And it's really just about building up your emotional intelligence. And he wrote a couple other books after that. One was called Sizing Up People, and another book called The Code of Trust. And one of those books, I still get him confused because I was skimming through all of his work, but he mentioned the concept of stoempathy, where you're combining the elements of stoicism, basically living a life that's reflective, and empathy, where you're truly trying to connect with other people where they are as opposed to where you want them to be, and
Mhm.
combining them both to where it's like stoempathy. Because today's world, we're dealing with a lot of folks who want to be heard and they're not really getting that wherever they are. So that leads to a lot of outbursts that's going on in the world and a lot of different things. And it's like we really need both. We need clear critical thinking along with the ability to truly meet people where they are and
Mhm.
try to at least have a bit of time and mental space to walk in their shoes metaphorically to see where they are, how we can truly help people. And that's probably been one of my favorite episodes in recent history, just that concept of stoic empathy.
Mhm.
And also the fact that I got him to laugh on the podcast, where it was towards the end. I'll leave it at a cliffhanger for those who want to check it out later.
Oh, okay. So, what was the most surprising interview that you probably didn't think that you would like so much, but you really did?
Ah, wow. I'd have to say it's definitely with I forgot the number of the episode, but it was a guest, and I believe she's out in Canada, Natasha Dean.
Mm.
She actually, funny enough, a buddy of mine, he's a publicist, and he loves to try to book folks on shows, and
Mhm.
one of his clients ended up having to quit on him, and he or she, I forgot who it was, And basically, it was like, "Oh, so Dom, you got an opening? Mind if I get a, a wonderful replacement for you?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
sure. I'll actually keep the date open. Next thing I know, she pops in. I believe it was Natasha Dean, and we just had the most entertaining conversation where it was just a nice, free flowing conversation. Lots of information, lots of laughs shared, and just the fact that she's a children's author, especially the tween age, the good 9 to 16,
Mm.
along with early teenage, like the young adults,
Okay.
like that wonderful range of books. And she was mentioning how she loves to have fun with writing those types of books because the thing is with a lot of folks is be like, oh yeah, just gonna write this youth fantasy novel. I just woke up one day and walked into a portal and they got to the other side of a tennis ball, as opposed to a nonfiction book where it's like if you said the same thing, it's like, hey buddy, newsflash, that's not how quantum physics works. And it's like, oh buddy, like wait a
Right.
second. So just really just having that conversation, especially with novelists who have a creative mind, because it leads to creative conversations.
Right. Okay. I like that. So, when you were writing your books, do you have a favorite book? I know I like that's my favorite word, favorite. But is there a book that stands out the most to you? Mhm.
Ah, man, there's a lot. Of course, the Bible was definitely one of them. That's always a go to answer. But another one followed up with that would be a book by John C. Maxwell, The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader. It's a black, green,
Yes.
and gold book about a good 190 so pages. And that book helped me to really become an ambivert because I was really an introvert still in
Mm.
my early college years. And that book helped me to really develop myself and my level of confidence to a new level because there was an activity in that book that he got from his father, who also was a minister and well
Mhm.
respected and well known in his area, where he would walk slowly through the crowd, low, and learn the names of his people, and then just see how he could help them out and just share some time with them.
Mhm.
And I added that to what I was doing when it comes to networking, being able to advance myself by advancing others, like going into places, learning about people, seeing how I can help them out, and being able to just help them out in the future. And just
Mhm.
that lesson alone helped me and other people because it actually led, like, funny enough, one time a buddy of mine, he actually had a communication
Mhm.
seminar, and it was a small seminar, about a good 10 folks, since it was heavily promoted, but he planned it for like 2 weeks out or something. And I met this photographer, and my man is a
Mhm.
real deal photographer. And the thing was, he had all these cameras from the 90s to the early millennium. And
Mhm.
funny enough, a couple of my podcast guests were looking for photographers, especially in the DMV area.
Mhm.
And when I sent her a list about 5 or 7 photographers, the guy who gave me his card, I basically put him on that list, and he outlasted the other 6 because of the way his website looked, his presentation, and he got business from that as being the photographer for her book signing, and he got other gigs after that, and he gave me a huge discount when it came time for me to get my new headshots at the time. So you never know, like being able to connect and contact with people, helping them out, at least helping you out in the future, because usually he charges something a little higher than what folks may think would be for just taking pictures, but it's really all about helping his clients have an experience as opposed
Mm.
to just snapping some pictures and being done with it. It's like making sure you capture folks in their natural element. So that way when they're putting their personal brand out there, they can see folks as their authentic best selves.
Okay. I like that. All right. So, thinking back about the crappy or happy part, what was one of those crappy experiences you had that taught you the most?
Ah, yes, it was actually the year of 2012. It's still funny looking back that they actually made a movie about that year, thinking, oh, we're gonna die, the world's gonna explode, like there's gonna be meteors everywhere, the second coming
Mm-hmm.
of Christ, there might be a giant toad we have to pray to. Like, it's like none of that actually happened. All that really happened is
Mm-hmm.
that I had to eat the setback sandwich that year of discovering my dad's Alzheimer's, him having to go out for a ride and getting lost, and having
No.
to pick him up and being able to, well, not being able to, but sadly having to take away his license and then picking up some of the slack he used to do for helping out my mom, who was sick at the time, but he took the priority. On
Mhm.
top of getting into a car accident a month and some change later on my 21st birthday,
Mhm.
and on top of that, not only getting to a car accident, having to care give for my dad, but also almost losing my part time job at the time with the local library, all because I thought my personal life wasn't seeping into my professional life. But at the end of the day, we all have our lives to live, and this is one life we have to live. And no matter how well you try to separate the two, they're going to flow into each other one way or another. And it just was that realization that hey, you may need a higher level of self-awareness,
Mhm.
and that these setbacks are really a setup forward, because the thing is that that year, like, it's actually was a gift, because really some gifts come wrapped up in adversity as wrapping paper.
That's true.
It's that's really what it's all about.
So that was a really hard year, 2012. How long did it take you to bounce back?
It took a few months, I'd say. Around 2013, I decided to set a New Year's mantra for myself every year. And 2013 was my year of rebirth. So,
Mm.
starting the goal for myself of reading at least 50 plus books a year and at least applying at least one thing from each book to better myself as a result. And it's been working out so far to where the fact that now it's been a few years and just looking back, it's like, man, I've had some pretty solid growth. It's been darn good. It's like really setting that intention out there and just putting that action along with the intention, because you can have good intentions all day, but the old saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You got to make sure you have good action too.
That's so true. That is so true. So it took you a couple of months, and basically you decided that you would have a better year. So would you say mindset was number one in that one?
Definitely mindset. Mindset is truly it, and it's even ties in with the framework of rave earlier. Just the wonderful reading, the great material, the audio immersion, visual stimulation, encouragement, like all of that ties in with your mindset. Because the thing is, if your mind isn't there, everything else isn't going to be there. You can go into thoughts from years ago, if especially the classic example of a teacher who said this student isn't going to be anything, but they grow up to be a major success. And one of the things you hear is that I kept on hearing that teacher said I wouldn't be nothing, but now I'm on top of the world. It's like really using that pain and making it power all comes from your mind and being able to use the powerful frontier experience of really the pre-play, like visioning for your future, and replaying those past moments of victory, heck, even sometimes those past moments of pain, and using it as a time to really focus forward.
Okay. So do you do manifestations or affirmations?
Affirmations, I do a couple. I definitely do a couple. One of the affirmations I usually say to myself once a day is that I will greet this day with love in my heart. I will greet this day with love in my heart. Because the thing is, I'm a Christian, and unconditional love is one of the tenets, and it's
Hmm.
really all about putting good energy out into the world, all the way to I'm getting better and better every day. Focusing on getting better at something, even if it's 1% better at something, whether it's picking up speed reading, sometimes better editing with my podcast, heck, even being able to get at least 500 words down on a page or a Word document. Even if I look back a few days later and be like, man, I must have been on drugs because this sounds horrible. Like just putting down things no matter what and just seeking to get that action to improve. So yeah, a little bit of manifestation. I'm not the full law of attraction tie dye. Let me put a giant moon on my head type of guy manifestation. But yeah, it's a real thing. It can really happen for you.
Okay. Um, just a quick question. What did you want to be as a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Funny enough, one of the things I thought I was going to be growing up was a computer repair guy.
Hmm.
Because a guy, because I even got an IT degree. Funny enough, like I actually was going to go that path, but the thing was, I ended up getting promoted to full time librarian with my day job, and my computer training helps me give an edge, or at least gives me an edge when it comes to helping out customers and my colleagues. But yeah, funny enough, be a computer repair guy. That was actually what I thought I was gonna be growing up. So didn't fully happen. It just there's just
Right.
a form of it now.
Right. Okay. I mean, you still dealing with it, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so I know you said that you used to be shy growing up, and then you kind of just changed. What advice do you have to someone who is shy and who would also like to come out of their shell, become more confident?
Sure thing. So just find your nearest costume shop, buy a turtle shell, put yourself in the turtle shell, and then stick your head out. And then after you stick your head out, then come out of the turtle shell, and then make sure you take a selfie of yourself before you come out of the turtle shell. I was messing with you. That's not the advice. I was gonna, let's see how long I was gonna run with that one. But actually, the real advice for coming out of your shell is definitely join your local Toastmasters club, because public speaking is one of the biggest fears known to man on this earth. And
Hmm.
if you can practice speaking in front of small groups, because your average Toastmasters club has like maybe 10 to 25 members. So being able to speak in front of a small group and continuously going back and back over and over again and practicing and delivering talks, whether it's a small talk for like 60 seconds to 2 minutes, all the way to a 5 to 30 minute presentation over time. As you get better with time, that'll build up your confidence, because if you can conquer fear at one level, you can conquer fear at another level. So do something that scares you. Like if public speaking is the thing, like Toastmasters is definitely something I recommend. And it's a small investment compared to some of the other stuff you get out there where you have to pay thousands of dollars for the sandbox experience you can get from Toastmasters International if you really plug into it and really get as much as you can out of it, as much as you put into it.
I've never heard of Toastmasters. What is that?
Sure thing. Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization that's been around for almost 100 years that's built to help leaders become leaders. So the tagline is where leaders are made. And great leaders are those who communicate well. And if you want to be a great communicator, public speaking is one of those aspects. So it's a nice little sandbox opportunity to grow your leadership and your communication skills for like a low price of like $120 a year.
Okay.
And groups meet like at least twice a month. And it's been one heck of a game changer for me. We probably wouldn't even be having this conversation today if I didn't join Toastmasters, give talks, and eventually turn those talks into chapters for my books, and giving those talks for other books, and eventually becoming a podcast host. So yeah, it's definitely a testament to what you can do, because it's all about that personal development.
Okay. So before the big change, were you a totally different person, or were you the same guy? Just now you speak more.
Pretty much the same guy. That's the funny part about it, because when I was growing up, usually the fun loving me cracking jokes all the time would be just around friends and family. But now it's like, oh, they kind of flipped. It's like
Right.
I'm like the fun guy 24/7 for the most part. And of course, I still need my time to rest and recuperate. We all do. Sometimes the introvert, it's like to call it peopling, when you get around too many people. It's like, oh god, let me get back and recharge for a second. So yeah, definitely, it just came out more in the forefront. I basically became a bigger version of my older self.
Okay. All right. This is a Baltimore question. Who is your favorite character from The Wire and why?
Oh, this is where I get hate. I have not watched the freaking Wire.
Oh, I'm about to end this episode right now. I should have asked you this first. I could have saved. I can't believe you. What?
It's like, dude,
Dominique Dom Brightmon. What is wrong with you?
I live next to the city. It's like, dude, what? It's like,
That is
dude,
only the best show ever.
definitely one of the best shows ever I've heard. But it's like, I've never been much of a TV guy.
Let me tell you something. That is worth it. I'm not a TV person either, but like, oh, I don't. I'm speechless.
And that's why they call me the showstopper.
You did that. You did that. I can't
If this
listen.
gets hate mail, I accomplish my mission. It's like, all right, y'all paying attention.
But let me tell you, like, honestly, real talk, like that show is not just like hood stuff, not just drugs, not just the police, it's everything. And the reason why I love it so much is because it shows us how everything works together. Like even the bad stuff, the good stuff, the politics, the schools, the kids, the drugs, everything. So it's like you're missing out. And the next time I talk to you, Mr. Brightman, I expect you to at least have season one finished.
So you're asking me to wear wire.
I'm not asking you. I'm telling you.
He's wearing a
You
wire.
you have to watch the Wire. What? I can't believe you. I'm happy this the end of the episode because I'm at my worst. Man, the Wire. Forgive him, Omar. He don't know his shit. Man, I'm about to take your Baltimore card. Do you have one?
Oh no, I ain't got the Baltimore card.
Good, because if you had one, you'd be getting it snatched right now. All right. Well, since you can't answer that question, if you could give advice to 17-year-old Dom, what would you tell him?
Read John Maxwell's books. Definitely read John Maxwell's books. Those books changed my life, especially his book called Thinking for a Change. That one especially helped me to really start to think at a higher level, heck, even to really think. And a lot of folks don't think. So yeah, definitely think for a change. Read books a lot quicker, a lot sooner. And when you become 18, join Toastmasters.
Okay. So that's all. You wouldn't change. You wouldn't teach him anything interesting like, hey, start fix your mindset. Let's save some years from being negative. Let's start being positive.
I'd probably tell them to watch out for certain days when you're practicing martial arts to avoid injury. I'll probably say that. Had a couple injuries doing Taekwondo and CrossFit. I wouldn't want to go through that again.
Oh. Well, I have some advice for you, and I think you know what it is.
Watch The
17
Wire.
year old Dom, yes, there's going to be a show called The Wire. It's going to come out in a couple years. It's going to be on HBO, but if you wait, you can watch it on Prime or something like that or whatever. But 17-year-old Dom, I need you to watch it because somebody named Donna is going to ask you a question about it, and she needs you to have an answer next time.
I guess that's the title of the episode. This guy didn't watch The Wire.
Yeah, I'm changing it from crappy to happy to this dude didn't even watch The Wire. Yes, you're not from Baltimore no more.
Hey,
All
folks
right.
get mad when I put the T in it, so it's all
Yes,
good.
no T. And I should have known when you say Baltimore. When you say Baltimore, I should have known that you was different. Because you're supposed to say Baltimore. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna let you slide though, because you're a cool person. So I'm gonna let you slide. So tell all of the listeners out there how they can follow you, how they can support you.
Well, thanks a bunch, Donna, for having me on your podcast. First of all, I appreciate it, especially taking time out of your busy schedule to allow me to be on your program and your platform, because, hey, don't want to take that lightly. And for those who want to keep up with yours truly, even after I admitted in front of the whole freaking God's green earth that I have never watched The Wire as of now, check me out on dombrightman.com. Everything Dom is there.
I wish I knew how to add sound effects because I would do the wah, wah, wah.
The Price is Right horn. Doop, 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 doop.
Yeah, I would do that right about now. Can't believe you.
Hey.
Well, anyway, thank you guys. I hope y'all were listening. And we are all gonna hold him accountable because he has to at least watch 5 episodes before we talk to him ever again. Um, episode one is a little slow, so don't judge it. Episode one is a little slow, but it's building, okay? All
It's the
right.
slowest Game of Thrones. Because I tried to
Ooh,
watch Game of Thrones, that failed horribly.
ooh. I tried to watch that too. I almost pulled my hair out. I was like, "What is this? They're so violent." Oh gosh. Yeah, they kind of. I mean, do you have any favorite show?
Oh man, funny enough, I did watch Dexter. I did enjoy that show. Dexter's definitely good. 2.5 Men was hilarious. My Name is Earl. That's probably a favorite.
Okay.
So yeah, I
The
like a
fact that you
few.
said Dexter first.
Hey,
Okay.
season 2 was hilarious. I love James Dokes. That man got taken out too soon, even though it's kind of bound to happen. He got too close to the secret.
Yes. Did you watch You on Netflix?
What, the show You, YOU?
Mm.
Nah, never have. Not
Well,
how.
it's very much like Dexter. It's like Dexter, very Dexterish. But I think you would enjoy it because the main character Joe, he's actually like a librarian. He's really into books. He loves books so much. He's a
Oh.
bookie, a book nerd, or whatever you want to call it. So he works in a library, I think the first season, and then he goes to like a bookstore. So he's into books. So you may enjoy it. The first episode is kind of freaky, but the rest of the show is really, really good. I think on the last season he went to Paris, but it's just like Dexter. So if you like Dexter, you will really like You. So before we talk again, you have to at least watch The Wire or You, one of those two.
Well, I
You
guess
damn
I'll
sure.
have to. Well, I guess the mafia will hate me. I'll watch The Wire. I'll go with that. I'll go on ahead and see see what the hubbub is about. I'll actually make time for
There we go. I'm gonna let you slide.
it.
All
Will it be
right.
electric?
Maybe. If you don't watch that wire, it will be electric.
ah, I'll be buzzed. Ah.
uh, but we winding down. I want to thank everybody for joining in. Don't leave him bad comments because he didn't watch the wire, y'all. He's gonna watch it. Just chill. Um,
It'll be
but
interesting to be like, all right, the haters are
right,
coming out. All right.
y'all go ahead and follow him. Y'all support his books. He has several books. He is a very happy, energetic guy, and he will teach you how to go from crappy to happy. Right?
Definitely right, not left.
There you go. All right, so y'all, thanks again for watching or listening, whatever you're doing, YouTube, or if you're on the podcast. Thank y'all so much for listening. Make sure y'all follow, make sure you share, tag, support, all that good stuff. I appreciate y'all, and I've been rolling this week, so I will see y'all tomorrow with another podcast. Thanks, Dom.
Woohoo! Thank you, Donna.